Welcome to a deep dive into the unsettling case of Richard Kirk, a Denver man whose disturbing actions led to a family tragedy. On April 14, 2014, Richard fatally shot his wife, Christine and Kirk, during a chilling 911 call that left responders and the public shaken. His defense? A legal marijuana edible which he claimed triggered psychosis and caused the unimaginable. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered troubling patterns that cast serious doubt on his version of events. To understand the full scope of this tragedy, it's essential to revisit the environment in which it occurred. In 2012, Colorado became one of the first U.S. states to legalize recreational marijuana. When dispensaries opened their doors in January 2014, Denver became a hotspot of cannabis tourism, economic boom, and controversy. Just months later, tragedy struck when 19-year-old exchange student Levi Samba died after ingesting 6 times the recommended amount of a marijuana cookie. He jumped from a 4th-floor balcony, and authorities directly linked his death to the edible. This incident was fresh in Denver's collective memory when the Kirk case emerged, stirring up debate about the true risks of cannabis edibles. But as we'll see, Chris Kirk's death was not just the result of a drug reaction. It was the tragic end to a long and troubled relationship. Kirk, known lovingly as Chris, was a vibrant, dedicated mother of 3 and a beloved member of her community. Originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan, she loved college football, her sorority days in Texas, and spending joyful moments with her sons. Her family described her as a nurturing and energetic woman whose greatest passion was being a mom. Her husband, Richard Kirk, came from Salt Lake City and was known for his strong religious beliefs. Though generally seen as polite and quiet, those closest to Richard described a man with a darker side. Volatile, impulsive, and plagued by road rage and unresolved anger. While Chris radiated warmth, Richard battled chronic back pain and developed an addiction to hydrocodone. Financial troubles grew alongside his dependence, and over time, trust within the marriage began to erode. There were red flags. In 2000, Richard had a DUI arrest. Family members suspected he once faked a car theft for insurance money. He spent the couple's tax refund on a motorcycle without Chris's knowledge. Tensions over religion further strained their bond. Richard was a devout Mormon and clashed with Chris's Catholic practices. Chris confided in a coworker that she no longer loved Richard and was waiting for the right time to tell him. Their marriage was faltering fast. Then came April 14th. That evening, Richard, out of pain pills, visited a local dispensary and bought THC-infused orange ginger candy. Security footage confirmed the purchase. At home, he consumed more than the recommended dose, then claimed he lost touch with reality. According to his version, the next thing he remembered was standing outside his house, unable to recognize his wife. But what followed wasn't a blackout. It was a horrifying, prolonged unraveling. At 9:30 p.m., Chris Kirk dialed 911. She told the dispatcher that Richard had eaten a marijuana edible and was acting dangerously, talking about the apocalypse, hallucinating, and demanding she shoot him. Their 3 children were locked in a room for safety. The family gun was in a locked safe, but during the 13-minute call, Chris reported Richard had accessed it. Then came a scream, a gunshot, silence. Officers arrived at 9:47 p.m., 16 minutes after Chris's first call. She had been shot in the head. Paramedics pronounced her dead on the scene. One detective testified that after the shooting, Richard went to his son's room and asked the boy to kill him so that Mom and Dad could be together with God. The gun had jammed. Richard immediately confessed. At the police station, he appeared confused and disoriented, blaming the edible. Toxicology found only trace amounts of THC, no other drugs or alcohol. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a trail of motive: over $40,000 in credit card debt, a recent switch of Richard's paycheck from their joint account to his personal one, and a $340,000 life insurance policy on Chris. Crucially, Richard had also bought ammunition earlier that same day, before eating the edible. Friends and family confirmed escalating abuse and isolation. Chris had told a friend that Richard recently yelled at her over the phone. She confided in her sister that they weren't even speaking anymore. The evidence suggested this was not a sudden psychotic break, but something far more premeditated. Though he initially pled not guilty by reason of insanity, Richard ultimately accepted a plea deal. In exchange for a second-degree murder conviction, he received a 30-year sentence, the maximum under the agreement. He still insists the edible was to blame, but the judge, like many, remained unconvinced. We may never fully understand what led to that fatal night. Was it a drug-induced tragedy, or a calculated act masked by a convenient excuse? What do you believe? Was the edible a scapegoat, or simply one piece of a much darker puzzle?